Good evening and welcome back to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with Galen Weibley, who is the Director of Development and
Planning
for the town of Kennebunkport. We haven't had a chance to sit down with Galen, so we thought we really need to get him in the hot seat and see what's going on around town. But first we have to ask you, Galen, what's going on with your leg?
That is a good story. So I accidentally had a little bit too much fun yesterday, and was at a dodgeball tournament and sprained my knee. So, yeah.
Well, at least you get out and have fun.
Yes,
it's
that's
not all work,
yep,
right?
Yep, absolutely.
So you've been with the town for how long now?
So I've been with the town since the end of December of 2023.
And prior to that, you were working up in, well, first of all, where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from South Central Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yep.
And what brought you to Maine?
So that is an interesting story. A little bit of background. So I was an undergraduate in agricultural, horticultural science, and minor in policy studies. So I always loved the sciences, but I wanted to also solve problems.
Okay.
And I loved public policy and decided to get involved in the legislature. I was a staffer there, a legislative staffer. And I was tired of the DC politics.
Okay.
And I liked, at the time, I was also an elected official. I was a township supervisor, they're called, in Pennsylvania. And I really enjoyed making a difference at the local level. And so I said, might as well make this part-time gig into a full-time one. And so I started applying for jobs and came across the job in Presque Isle, which I originally first thought was in Presque Isle, Pennsylvania.
Oh!
Off of Lake Erie, there's a Presque Isle State Park, so I thought that's where I was going to be applying. I said, well, they get a little bit more snow, but I'm used to that, and I'm still in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
And so I looked at the job a little bit closer and I said, oh, it's Presque Isle, Maine.
Yeah.
And so not being from Maine, never visiting Maine ever, I just...
Never once?
Nope, never once.
Wow.
I just looked it up on a map and I'm thinking in my head, it's in the coast. It has to be in the coast of Maine. Presque Isle with that kind of water feature. Nope. It's way up in the tip of the mitten of Maine. So I just did my research and fell in love with the community and I said, what's the harm? I'll apply and they won't select me and I'll just move on and fell in love with the place when they flew me up there and was doing that for 4 years.
Wow. Okay. So when you were up there, did you get to drive around a lot and see Aroostook County, Washington County?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you cross the border to Canada? Because it's
did.
not very far, right?
A lot of people don't realize that, but it's actually closer for me to go to Fredericton from Presque Isle than it is to Bangor.
Yeah.
So I explored all across the Maritimes and also in Aroostook County. I went the whole way up to the top north where Fort Ken is and the Allagash, the whole way down to the very bottom.
Yeah. So. And so for you, having an agricultural background, and that's where a lot of our agriculture is, did you get to talk with farmers or, I mean?
Yeah. There was some farmers on our planning board. So it was. I was able to relate to them. My position was actually a director of economic and community development.
Okay.
So not only just the economic side of helping with small business loans, but I also dealt with the comprehensive plan and a lot of the planning efforts for the town. And so I was able to relate to the farmers and I was able to explain with development how soil types play an impact in determining development potential for a site. So it was beneficial to having that science background.
Yeah, I bet.
For the town.
Have you been getting into, like when you were there, I'm sure, like climate and all the things that are sort of changing around us with the farmers and
it was
things that happen? Especially
in the northern part. It's probably a little topsy-turvy between that part of Maine and this part of Maine. They had a problem with a lot of drought. So that was their concern up north versus down here, we have a lot more flooding. So there was definitely a discussion about climate resiliency, how we're going to plan for the future. But the county has so much potential up there with their soils and they've so much area that's not developed that they have true potential in the future to be maybe a haven for people who are trying to escape the more harsh extremes of climate change.
Yeah, I think, I sort of forget, or maybe other people know this, but I forget. We've got, besides potatoes, we've got blueberries. There's potential for hops. I mean, there's the climate is good here for many, many things.
And in the county, broccoli was huge
Broccoli,
too.
yeah. So, but and it gets harder and harder, I think, every year for farmers. I would think, to get their stuff out to market. And
it's a risky business.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so fast forward a little bit. What gets you to Kennebunkport?
So at the time in Kennebunkport, we talked a little bit about distance,
Yeah.
and so family is very important to me. My family's all based in Pennsylvania, Maryland area. And so I still love Maine. I love Maine for the recreational opportunities that it provides residents, the better quality of life standards that are available in Maine. I love the 4 seasons. Winter is actually one of my favorite seasons, as long as you learn to embrace it. That's the tip I always tell folks when they move
I think
to
you're
Maine,
right.
is
I
you have
think
to
you're
embrace
right.
it.
Yeah.
So I decided, I want to be down where the action is. I was enjoying climate resiliency planning, and I wanted that challenge, especially of a coastal community, and how I can help a coastal community in planning for resiliency moving forward.
Yeah.
So I saw this position and decided to apply.
And you came in right when things were heating up, as they say around here.
Yep.
So so you started right beyond. We had a couple of huge storms, so you had to hit the ground running.
I did, and even when I moved to Prescott, it was the same instance. It was before the COVID pandemic.
Oh.
So what I tell people is it goes up from here.
I love that.
Yes, I'm very optimistic, and
I love that.
Certainly those storms. It does change your perspective when you experience a natural disaster like that as a community. We had extensive flooding in Hellam Township, where I was a township supervisor.
Okay.
And similar to Vermont, just pour buckets of rain. And when you live through that, and when roads are completely washed out and people are stranded, it does change your perspective, and you start thinking more proactively of what are you going to do for the future.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that happen here in Kennebunkport.
Yeah, because it's going to happen again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So could you walk us through a typical day at your office at the town office?
Absolutely. So I like to say our department, we have assessing, codes, and planning all in one department. So we're like the Swiss Army knife, you could say, of the departments. We handle property tax abatements, short-term rental licensing, building code, permit review, plan reviews for different projects. And so every day is different. And that's what I love about this kind of work is every day is different. It's similar to being out in the field, because when you work on a farm, every day is different. You don't know what exactly you're going to get into and what you're going to do. And it makes the time go by so much faster. And so I thoroughly just enjoyed that aspect of it. And that's what we do. So it's a lot of office work, but there's also a lot of field work.
Yeah.
I'd say roughly it's 80% office and there's 20% out in the field. And then it's just having meetings with folks and understanding, their projects, their stories, and how we can help them as a town to make their dreams a reality.
So do you have to attend a lot of the meetings in the evening?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So zoning and planning?
Zoning board, planning board, growth planning committee.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So those are the ones that are my primary, and then secondary would also be a board of selectmen if I'm needed, and the climate resiliency committee as I'm needed.
Okay, so you're a busy guy.
I did. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, we're lucky to have you here in town, because there is a lot going on, and it's great to have somebody that is enthusiastic and has a great background.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're not at work?
I'm not at work.
Yeah.
So
besides, playing dodgeball.
Yeah, besides playing dodgeball. So I'm again growing up in Pennsylvania. We have a very similar values when it comes to just being connected with the land, and so a lot of hiking, snowshoeing, bird watching, fishing, hunting. I do have a German short-haired pointer.
Oh.
And so he does come into the office sometimes to, be that cheerleader for folks when they come in, and I have evening meetings that are late.
Yeah.
And so we go out bird hunting. That's one of the things that we do enjoy. Yeah.
Where do you go? Have you found some
I
really
haven't
great
found
spots?
it yet. Since I moved down here, but up in the county, I would go.
Oh yeah,
A lot
I
of places
bet.
up there. Yeah,
Well, I would think that I mean, you've probably have heard about, trails around the area, but there's a lot to explore
absolutely.
when you have time.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned family. How many, do you have siblings?
I do. I do.
Okay.
So I'm an identical twin.
Oh,
Yes. And we are exceptionally close. And then I have a little brother as well. He's 3 years younger. And then I also have a nephew in addition to my parents.
okay. So do you get back there or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually once a quarter.
Oh, that's
I
good.
Yep. That's
And have they been here to visit you?
they're planning to be here at the end of September. So, yeah.
So what do you think of, like when they come, do they like the area?
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They do. My father, he hasn't been in southern Maine yet, but when he went up to northern Maine, he'd go out for black bear hunts
Oh, wow.
in Canada. So yeah, they love it. Yeah.
So when you're at some of these meetings and you're thinking about sort of the next, with growth planning, like the next, what's the look? If you have the crystal ball, next 5 years, next 10 years, hopefully you'll still be here with us.
Yes.
What do you think?
So I definitely think it's going to definitely be about climate resiliency as it comes to building codes, how we can build structures more resilient. I also think that energy infrastructure, there might need to be upgrade for that, and just improvement overall in our grid reliance. So how we can be more sustainable for when natural disasters happen, that we don't lose power, that we can recover from when an event actually happens. So I think that's where the long term, I think that's where we're going to be headed in that direction.
Yeah.
Just how we can build more resiliency into our projects.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
And do you, when you're working with planning board, zoning board, do those positions change? Like, do you know, is it a term?
For the
I don't know.
seats? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are term limited.
Okay.
They usually have three term appointments, and they're usually 3 years apiece
Okay.
for each term. And so they do have a certain limit, and then we do have new openings, and
okay.
new people come on
Yeah.
board. So I do have a shout out that if anyone is interested in being part of a board or getting involved in the community, we do have openings in the Growth Planning Committee as well as Planning Board.
Okay.
So those are really important committees for the town. Both act as think tanks, really, for how we can plan better and proactively as a town. And so I encourage folks to consider their time and talents on those
that's
committees.
great.
Yeah.
And so for somebody with a background in like,
They don't have to have a background in
Okay.
planning or anything.
Okay.
So, I've had diversity in planning boards throughout my municipal service, and some have been nurses, some have been farmers, some have been former town clerks. So there's a whole wide breadth of people that can be on.
and care about the community.
Yeah, as long as they care about the community and have a willingness to learn and have an open mind, that's really all you need to serve on these committees. And then just meeting twice a month. That's it.
So you're like me, we have a board of trustees here and they rotate.
Yep.
So sometimes it can be challenging when you're working with a really good board and you're moving the needle. And then all of a sudden those people are no longer with you, but you hope that they stay somehow in the loop.
Right.
So, but it is time, and
It is. Yep.
but it's tough because I think we've had, like, our producer here, Mike Kelly, was on our board, and it's like when you see people who want to stick around and help with other projects, it just feels really good that they care.
They do.
About the library, they care about the community. So
Yep. I always encourage people, even if you're term limited, find that next spark that you can be a part of. And, our meetings are always open to the public, so we always take public input as well, even if they're not on the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a worthwhile experience. I think everyone should, at some point in their life, either run for elected office or also serve on a committee or board at the municipal level, because you really get an understanding of your community, what's going on, and also how you can make real lasting change in the place that you call home.
Yeah, that's really great advice.
Yeah.
And I think for so many people, they don't feel like they have the right background, or what can I add to this, but it's the town that you live in, like we were talking a little bit before, and where you come from, and I've lived in the same town my whole life, and I think about it, but if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure I have the right time to do it, if that makes sense. But people will say, but if you get on a committee, it's not as much time as you think it is.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I always said, your background and your life story really does shape the conversation, because you and I have been through different life experiences, and some of those experiences might be helpful when a application is in front of the planning board, where it's a proposed development, and you live through lights coming through your window, and so that experience, how that impacted you, and you really want to make sure that no one has to go through that experience again. And so we're all shaped by those different experiences, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and that's why I prefer not having people that have planning backgrounds on planning board and growth planning, because you bring a diversity of perspectives to the table, and it just allows for enlightening conversations, and you learn more about not only your fellow board members, but about your community members.
And I think you said earlier about making people, they buy a piece of land, and you see a dream come true through that whole process, and that must make you, feel really good about what you're doing, even though there are some challenges.
There are challenges,
And there are rules.
There are rules. There are rules. Yep, absolutely.
But it is. I bet it is great to be able to see when you're driving up and down the street, like the impact.
It is, and when residents get involved with these types of projects, that's why I love local government, because you get to see the product of all your time invested actually come to fruition. It's one of the few forms of government where there's not infighting and just gridlock all the time. You actually see the product of,
that's great.
A positive impact in your community.
That's awesome. Well, we're very glad that you're here. We're glad that you made the trek south from Presque Isle.
Yep, absolutely. It's been a great move for sure.
Yeah. So towards the end of our interview, we like to have like a little rapid fire question and answer. One word answer is good, but if it's more than that, that's okay too.
Okay.
Favorite ice cream?
Oh, favorite ice cream. It depends on the season.
Okay.
I'll say that. Usually it's citrus fruits and just fruits in general in the summer, and then the wintertime it's more chocolate and peanut butter related.
Okay, like that. Do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie? That one's tough. I try not to watch too much TV.
Okay.
I try to read.
Smart.
Yep.
Favorite book?
Favorite book.
Or like what's on your nightstand right now?
I liked Song of Achilles. That was a really good book. Yeah. That was memorable. And I loved Greek mythology and stuff, so that was a great book to have.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Coolest place you've ever been in your life? Not temperature-wise.
Cool. That might have been a trick question. I love Quebec. That would be the coolest, probably the most north. But I love really a lot of different places. I'm one of those people that I have a goal to be to visit every state capital.
Okay.
And so every state capital you go into, they're all different, and I love just seeing how those areas are shaped by geography.
Yeah. So have you been to many?
I have. Yep. I've been to 10. I'm still working on that list.
Hey, that's good. That's a good goal, though, to chip away at.
Yep.
So now you were just on a little bit of a break. Did you do something fun?
So I went to a wedding in Pennsylvania. So
that was,
visiting family there, and then I got 2 state capitals done on the way back.
Hey, very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely.
And it's nice to sit down and talk with you a little bit more. I hope your leg heals soon.
Yes.
Just keep up the good work, because we're very lucky to have you working here in town.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about my story.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think this community is going in great direction, and looking forward to the path moving forward.
Pretty lucky around here.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah. So thank you for being here, and thank you all for being here. And thanks to our producer, Mike Kelly. And we hope to see you right back here next time for another episode of What's Your Story?